Okay, there you see, it's a foolproof scheme as long as Jang always shows up. Never miss a class, Jang. All right, so today we're going to learn about Ajax. Does anybody have an idea what Ajax is? And no, it's not the foaming cleanser. Does anybody get that reference at all? All right, Todd got it. Okay, all right, good, good.
Is it a suburb of Toronto?
It's kind of, don't tell people from Ajax they're a suburb. They wouldn't believe you, but yes, it's a suburb of Toronto. It's a nice place. Named after a ship, if you're a historical person at all. So, Ajax, any ideas?
The X is XML.
There we go. You know 25% of what Ajax is. So Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. The scary part of that might be the word XML or the letters XML. Don't be worried. It actually has nothing to do with XML these days. Back in the early days, yes, it did have something to do with or XML, but nobody uses XML anymore, or at least not on purpose. So let me share my screen. That one. Move that over, and I'm going to move that off. Okay, so here I have written, oh, let me just close this. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Okay, so this is an app. We're gonna build it today. We're gonna build this app, and what this is a very, very basic blog application. Super basic, and the way it works is I come over here to add post. I open it up. I give a post a title. This is the title and a body. I love Ajax. And create post, and it adds the post to the top of the list. And in theory, if I put this on the internet, then people can read my musings about whatever it is I want to do. Notice something interesting when I added the post. The page did not reload. And that is something you see a lot in modern web applications. So if it didn't reload the page, how did the page get the information? That is an excellent question. So let me open up my, let me open up my console. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the network tab. And I'm going to add a new post here. So I'm going to say, okay, so this is kind of interesting. You will notice that even though I didn't reload the page, network traffic occurred. So two different sort of bits of network traffic. This, which is a 201. Let's have a look at it. So I made this request and I sent this as form data. Notice this is form data, but once again, my form did not reload the page. So I sent the title and the body. Okay, great. Let's see what the response was from the server. Server sent me the exact same thing back with an ID. Great. So the next thing that happened is it requested all of the posts. So having a look here, we can see all the posts that are listed over here. And right at the bottom, ID 3961, another new post. So two things happened. I sent the post, I got a request, I got a response back saying, yep, this was successful. I then made a request, another request for all of the posts on the page. This is modern web applications. You've seen this a lot. And let me show you another example. This is going to be real. So GitHub, not GitHub. You see all my Google searches. So I Google everything as well. So Google or github.com/jbarson/CSS. I shared the CSS I did the other week with my coworkers. They thought it was ugly. I don't know. But in any case, this is GitHub. And GitHub is the same sort of thing. So I'm going to open up, once again, the same tab, the network tab. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over to projects. This time I did have a reload. So this is a new page. Okay, let's create a project. Let's give the board a name. And no template. There we go. So add a column. We'll call this, we'll give a to-do column and a done column. Now, when I've created those columns, the reload did not occur. What happened, and come right down to the bottom, see I've, under columns here, again, we sent this request. The request is a little more in depth, but not much more. Sends information, the response, it comes back with this. This is just the raw HTML because that's all that's really needed. So what's happening is that, here, let's create a card and see what happens. I'm gonna just clear this out and create a card. We're going to say enter a note. This is to done. Okay, I'm going to click on add. We've got this post, then some gets, show progress. And so here is the card that was sent. Show progress, so whatever that means. And finally, here is the response. So this is what's being sent from GitHub. And this is how we do almost everything. We don't generally reboot or reload the page every time we need new data. Okay. All right, so how does this work? So first of all, the styling's way better than last week, but it didn't take me very long to do either. So let's get started. Let's build this. Okay, so I'm going to open up my terminal. Here. Open up my terminal, and I'm going to go or come on. Sure, don't work. LHL lectures. Okay, and then open up my code editor. You've seen me do that before, so I'm not going to worry that you didn't see how I did it this time. Okay, so I've got a blank folder. So the first thing I need to do is to look at creating a server that can handle all of the operations that I need to make. So that means I'm going to create a quick Express app. Okay, so opening this terminal. And okay, so what's the first thing I do if I want to create a Node Express app?
npm init.
You got it, sir. That is correct.
-y.
Yep. -y. Now you don't have to do -y, but if you're doing a demo like this, then -y is absolutely fine. And the good news is you can always go back and edit this. So here's the package JSON. Great. Nothing's in it. Also great. So if I want to run an Express app, I need to have Express. How do I get Express into my app?
Require.
Yeah, but even before I require it.
You need to install it first.
Yes. So let me install npm I for install. I'm going to install Express. I'm also going to install the Morgan package because I like that. It gives me some great information. Morgan is better for developing. You don't need it when you are running it or running an app in production. Okay, super. So I've got the packages that I need. Okay, what's next? Well, I guess the first thing I need to do is create a server file. Okay, and here's where I do the require. So it's const express. I could spell. All right, super. And then I have to create the app. Always have your cheat sheet close by. Right, so I just invoke Express. Okay, and the first thing I like to do is create the listen. So I'm going to just create a port up here. Call it 50/50. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and let's create our listen. Okay, that should be enough to have me run an app. So let me start it up. I'm going to use Nodemon, which will reload it'll watch the files and reload every time I make a change. Okay, great. Now, nothing's going to happen if I go to port 5050. But I cannot get slash. So at least that tells me that a server is running. It's not doing anything, but a server is running. Okay, great. Let's add in Morgan while I'm thinking about it. So way I do that, const Morgan equals require Morgan. I'm going to go over this part of it fairly quickly because we've done this before. So, and then I do app.use Morgan, and I say in the dev environment. Okay. All right, so let's set up our get, or let's actually serve some files first. So what I want to do is I want to create some static files. So let's do that. So I can set that up by saying app.use, and I'm going to say it's actually express static, and then I have to give it a path to a folder, which I will make at public. Okay, super. So let me create my public folder. Okay. No, not. I told you, never go into the node modules. That's where insanity lies. And since, again, I'm thinking about it, I'm going to create a gitignore file. What that's going to do is it's going to allow me to not add node modules to my project. So when I upload this to GitHub, it's not going to have that folder full of thousands and thousands of files. You can just do an npm install and it will install those files for you because they're listed in package.json. So let me do that. Node. Super. Okay, it's the last we're going to need of that. And again, I'm thinking about it. So let's create. We'll open up a new terminal just so NodeMon can continue to run over here. And I'm going to just git init this. Okay. Any questions so far? Super basic. All right, let's get our public folder set up. So in here, you know, I'm going to do it this way. CD public, and then I'm just going to create these files using the touch command. So I'm going to create an index.html, a styles.css, and a script.js. I find it easier to do on the command line than right-clicking over here. Okay, I've created 3 blank files. Let's populate this with a default exclamation mark bang, and we're going to call our blog, we'll call it minimal blog, because I'm not going to spend minimal. No, I've decided that I'm going to keep it as minimal. Why? Who knows? Because keep your typos. So it's the mini mail blog. Maybe I'm going to talk about mail. I don't know. I've got nothing else in this blog. Okay. What else should I do here before I go any further? Let's add a title, just so we can see something.
Hey, John, so we don't need the EGS template for this one?
No. EJS is if we want to add information to the file before we send it to the client. Now, I could combine EJS and regular JS together. I'm not going to do that this time. All I'm doing right now is I'm serving a standard HTML file. Okay, so let's just see if all of this works. Great. Okay, awesome. I've created a very minimal web server. Super. Okay, so what do I do next? Let's add in our CSS. How do I add the CSS in? There's nothing in here yet, but how do I add that to this project?
With a link.
link.
Yep, link. So let me create a link tag. And .css. Okay, and I'm also going to add JavaScript. Script source, and the source is going to be and what I like to do when I add a JavaScript file is just add a console.log just to make sure that I haven't screwed anything up, because I am almost certainly going to screw something up. So let's go to the console. Let's refresh. Boom. Awesome. Okay, so I've linked the JavaScript. Okay, let's set up some really quick minimal styles, because while this isn't about styling, you should always add a little bit of styling. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say for the body, it's going to apply to the entire body, and that is, I'm going to give it a padding of 30 pixels and a font family of Avenir. People don't use Avenir all that often. Refresh. Perfect. Okay. So the next thing I need to do is to have an area for the blog posts to be shown. So what do I do there? So all I'm going to do actually is I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to give it an ID. So let's actually do this.
Would you not use like a section tag, or?
I could. Post container. Sorry. There we go. Perfect. So now when I add the posts, they're going to appear in that post container. Now, traditionally and in the past, you would have seen me go and create like a title, maybe an H2 with the name of the post, and then a paragraph with the body of the post. I'm not going to do that. We're going to add those posts programmatically. So in order to add posts programmatically, I need to have some posts to add. So I'm going to cheat slightly. And I'm going to create a data slash posts.json. No such, oh, won't let me do that. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Perfect. So now I've got this post.json, and just to save time, I'm going to grab my data from here. It's just a bunch of things that have been created with Lorem Ipsum. So I've got an array of objects. Each of these objects has an ID, a title, a body, and if we get round to it, a user ID. I'm not going to worry too much about the user ID quite yet. So my goal right now is to show these posts on my blog. So let's go about doing that. Okay, so I guess first thing I need to think about is how am I going to get these posts, which in a real application are going to live on a server somewhere, which is separate from the client. So here I've got this public folder, and this is the client, and this represents all of the files that are being sent to the web browser. The web browser itself never gets anything outside of that public folder. So outside of the public folder are these posts. Okay. So what I can do here is I can go into my scripts, or sorry, my server, and I can create an endpoint. So I'm going to say app.get, and I'm going to say for the create an API. So I'm going to create an endpoint at /API/posts. Okay. And posts? No, posts. Get rid of that. And here. And our good buddies recres, REQ, RES. All right, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to return the posts. So I'm going to say res.send posts. And I need to pull those posts into the app. So let me do that. I can easily do that by saying posts equals require /data/posts. Okay. Great. So I've got that, and I ran into this problem before. So I'm going to fix it before I even run into it this time. And that is, I need to send those posts in the format that they're in, which is JSON. In order to do JSON, I need to encode them. So let me set that up. Okay, and instead of res.send, I'm going to do res.json. Okay, there is my amazing server, and it should work. Now it's not going to work in the main page, but let's check the /API/posts endpoint. And it's unable to connect. What, did I stop something? Oh, yes, I did. App crashed. What did I do? Unexpected end of JSON input. I love that. Okay. See, now it works. And oh, here, post.json. That'll fix it. No. Throw an error, unexpected end of JSON input. Did I mess? Oh yeah, save the file. Here's an important tip, always save the file. There we go. So this shouldn't be anything new, right? We've already created Express servers. We've already added data to Express servers. So all this is doing is it's pulling in the data that I've put into this faux database, and it is serving it up when I request. Now it's serving it up at different endpoints. So the next question is, how do I get the information from this endpoint into a way that my users can see it here? This is where Ajax comes in. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need some front end JavaScript. All right, so we're going to leave the backend. I'm even going to close the backend files because I don't need it anymore. Okay, I don't need the styles. What I really need is the script. So here we've got our script. So we're going to use jQuery. So I'm going to install jQuery just using the script method. In a production app, I wouldn't do it this way, but this is a simple manner. So here's a question. Does it matter where I put the script? So if I put jQuery script here, is there any problem with that?
Yeah, it's going to run the script file before it loads jQuery.
Exactly. And if I refer to jQuery inside the script, I'm going to have major problems. So let me take this and put it underneath. There we go. Okay, great. So let's go back into our script.js. Let's see if we've installed jQuery properly. So jQuery is just going to appear because the script has run already. I should have access to jQuery and all of its methods. And I believe you started off with jQuery last week. I saw a post or a Slack message from Zola saying he was going to teach you how to use jQuery. So let me just make sure that this all works. There we go. So when I do a console.log magic $, it sends back to me this really huge object, which is, at the end of the day, this is jQuery. Okay, perfect. So it's going to work. All right. Next, we are going to run the script. So there are a number of ways of running your script on your page. And what I'm going to do is do this the jQuery way, which is calling $document. Sorry. There we go. Document.ready. Inside document.ready, I have a callback. And then inside my callback, get rid of that comma. I don't know how that got there. I can put all of my code. So back in the day, we used to do this all the time. And it got to be actually quite a bit. So we're putting it in here. Does anybody know why we're running this here?
Because the document has to load first before the code.
Exactly. What other options do I have?
Could you use a promise?
Excellent idea. Or I could put the script tag at the bottom of my index.html. So because everything loads synchronously, if I put my script after everything, it will load after. But I'm going to do this the jQuery way, which is to do it like this, or there is a short form. And it actually is pretty cool because all you do is you get rid of all that. There we go. It's just a short form. It'll still work. And what we can do is we can confirm that it works by
So you're saying if you put the script at the bottom of the page, it accomplishes the same thing?
yeah. I am saying that. It accomplishes the exact same thing. Modern JavaScript generally will have you put the scripts at the bottom of the page. So if you want to have it at the top of the page, you can just use the document.ready, which accomplishes the same thing. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's fetch our posts and then populate the page. Okay. All right, so in order to do this, I'm going to get rid of this console log. Oops, got rid of too much. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is create a function. I'm going to call this function fetch posts. Okay, so inside fetch posts, I'm going to start using jQuery. I'm actually going to use the Ajax method. So let me get started with that. So syntax for this is $.ajax. Now, people get confused by this $sign. This is like any other word. It just so happens they decided to use the $sign rather than something like the word jQuery. I can put jQuery here instead of the $sign, but we have this $sign, so may as well use it. So I'm going to run Ajax, and inside the Ajax, there is a configuration object, and I have to put in a few things. First thing I'm going to do is the method. I'm going to use get. The second thing I'm going to do is data type. And that is going to be JSON. The next thing I'm going to do is the URL. What's the URL going to be in this case? Anybody want to hazard a guess?
API slash that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slash API.
slash API, yeah.
Yeah, slash posts. If I didn't put the slash there, there would be problems. So I need to put that slash there. Okay. So now this is going to send a request to my endpoint. Now I need to do something with the response, and I can continue to put the all of this in here inside the configuration object. So let me create a success callback. The success callback is going to take the posts. And just for the time being, we're going to do console.log posts. And if there's a success callback, probably means that there's also an error callback. Okay, so now I've created my fetch posts. All I'm doing right now is when I successfully grab the posts, I'm going to run console.log on it. This is again happening on the client. So all of this again is everything inside this public folder. And this will be running on the client's machine, not on the server. Okay. So, and before I do anything else, I need to actually run the fetch posts. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, coming back here, I'm gonna clear the console. I'm gonna run that. I got an array. I got an array of objects. How awesome is that? So without reloading, here, if I, well, I mean, I have to reload in order to have that show, but this is now on page load. It's going out and making a request. Here, let's look over here. And we get all of the network traffic, and we get down to here where it says posts. And you could see that we made a request for the posts, and it responded with the data. So this here, the rest of these are the files that you all know and love, but this here is this request inside this jQuery document .ready. Okay, so now I have the data, but it's still not useful to me here. When you are developing for users, if the idea of, say, opening the console in order to get the data comes into your mind, no. Users are never going to open the console. Developers open consoles, users don't. So we need to get this information from here to here. Okay, so in order to do that, I need to use jQuery to create, I'm going to create all of the posts. So let's create a we're going to create a post, a singular post. And what the post is going to consume is one of these items in this array. Okay, it's just going to take that and turn it into something that I can append to my page. Okay. Okay, so let's create a title. And Zola probably told you about using $ in order to denote your variables that are jQuery related. So I'm going to create a title. How do I create a tab or a tag with jQuery? What should I type here?
Dot text, something.
It's a $, open bracket, and then quotes, and inside the quotes, your HTML.
Yep.
Or the tag that you want to create.
Yeah. So there's a couple ways for me to do this. There's this method. And then I can do put in some text. And for now, I'm not going to worry too much about the text. I'm just going to put in title for the text. So why does it do that? Thank you, autocomplete, for making my life not as good. All right. Another way to do this, and this is the way I prefer. Here, I'm just going to comment this out. And I am going to do it like this. And I'm going to use a string literal. And then inside here, I'm going to put title. Okay. So I've created a title. I'm going to create the body the same way. Does anybody have any questions about how I did this? No? Okay. Great. So here I'm just going to create a p tag. Inside the p tags, I'm going to put in a few words so it looks like an actual sentence. Okay, great. And then
when you put variables in string literals, you use $ curlies. That has nothing to do with jQuery, right?
That is correct. It has nothing to do with jQuery. String literals actually came after jQuery. So, matter of fact, I've never used string literals with jQuery before because I haven't used jQuery before today in a while, but that's okay. It's still relevant. So let's do that. So I'm also going to create a container to hold these things. Not that. And I'm going to say post, and we're going to say equals $. We'll just put in a section. No, article. There, makes me feel good. Oh, to use the right. Yes, go ahead.
So does that mean whatever components that you're using here, you don't have to use that same thing in index.html anymore?
No, so what I'm doing is I'm actually creating the elements with jQuery, and I'm going to add them to the HTML with jQuery. So I don't have to add anything new to my index.html. This is done. This is not going to get any more complex.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, when I get there, you're going to go, ah, that's what he meant. Okay. And what I'm going to, yeah, no, that's fine. We'll just create an article. Okay, and now I want to put the title and the body inside the article. And the way I do, way I do that is $post dot append, and we'll say $title, comma, $body. Okay. So I've created a post, and now that I've created a post, I have to return it. So let's return the post. Okay. This is going to create the element. Now, I have, what is it, 13, 11, 12 articles here. So I need to do this 12 times. If I have to repeat something 12 times, what does that sound like?
Loop.
Exactly. So let me. So I'm going to create another function called create posts, plural. And this is going to take the posts and I'm going to get a reference to let's have a look. What did I call it? I gave it an ID of posts container. So how do I get a reference to that in jQuery? What do I need to put in here?
The ID symbol, or the what do you call it, a hashtag or a number sign, and then the name of the ID.
Yeah. So this is using, and one of the great things about jQuery is it uses the same syntax as CSS. So you only have to remember one way of referring to classes and IDs, because you have enough to think about. Okay, and we'll say posts container. And then we are going to go posts dot for each post. Callback is going to, it takes the post and then I'm going to create inside here a $post, and I'm going to set it equal to the create post. Okay. So I'm creating, I'm running this function inside this function and passing it a post object, which will then create the HTML I need. Okay, and once I've created it, I have to add it to the container. So all I need to do is say container dot append, and we're going to say post. Okay, so how do I call create posts? I love the way VS Code like grays things out when you haven't called them yet. So here, I'm going to take create posts. the function, and here, where I've got this console.log, I'm going to, here, let me just make this multi-line. Okay. That should work. We should start a betting pool to see, you know, if it actually works. I'm pretty confident though. All right, so let's see if we can see the posts on the page when I reload the page. I can, except they all say the same thing. So let's fix that. And the way I'm going to fix that is come up here. Now notice I'm passing in the post. So instead of putting title here, I can put in $post dot title. And instead of that, I'm going to put post.body. So I am taking this post and I'm which is an object. We know what the object looks like. It looks like this. It has a title, it has a body. So when I reload this, awesome. Worked first time. All right, I feel like I know what I'm doing. So now we have a way of displaying our posts. The HTML has an H1 and a section tag. Everything else I'm creating with jQuery, and I'm adding it, and I'm getting the data that I need using an Ajax call. Cool? Any questions about that?
I'm just, I have a question about the create post singular function.
Sure. Yeah.
Is there, would it be okay to just simply create the post using a template string? Like, do we need to use jQuery in that instance, or is it
do we need to use jQuery? That's an excellent question. We could do it outside of jQuery. You could make an entire string. So for instance, we can say const post string equals, and inside here we can, here, let me, and then we'll do 2 here, just grab this. And grab this. And post string will do the same thing.
Okay.
But I want to show you different ways of doing things. I would not do it in this manner just because this is super simple, right? I've got 2 tags. I've got a title and a body. But imagine how complex it could get if I had a more complex card or post that I wanted to show. Say I wanted to show the created date or the author or something else along those lines. So that is one way you could do it. And then you could just post.append post string. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, but yeah, but if you get too many tags, then it's better to do it.
Yeah, I would not do it like that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one last question. On line number 9, in
Yes.
create post,
Yep.
use that dollar post.
Yep.
Where are we using that?
Where are we used? So here I create the post, which is an article tag. And you can see here, I am taking that article tag and I'm appending the H2 and the P that I created above. Let's go and actually have a look. Let's inspect this. And if we inspect it, you'll see that all of the posts have an article, and inside the article is an H2 and a P tag. And that's how we've assembled all that.
How did it get the close article tag?
It knows that's jQuery. It knows if I'm creating an opening tag, I have to create a close tag. It's just jQuery in the background helping us out. I have to stop getting a coffee just before class starts because it's always cold by the time the break comes. Okay, speaking of break, let's take 10 minutes. I will see everybody back at 2:45. Is that cool? Well, 2:45 my time, 2:15 whatever hour it is where you are. I love my friend. The only time I hurt my leg is when I pull the clutch. Oh, my class, you've abandoned me. Hey, Joe. Todd.
Hey, John.
I was getting worried. It was 1:15 and nobody was here. Yeah, wait another minute or so. So everybody looking forward to having a break over Christmas? Yeah.
Yeah.
Coding is great, but it can be tiring at times.
Are you taking any time off?
Not really. My company closes between Christmas and New Year's, so it's fine.
That's good.
I'll just sit around and think of new ways to torture you. No, I mean, come up with better lessons. Hopefully this isn't torture. Okay. So tell me what you think about this method of populating a web page. I want to hear from you what you think of this. Is this a better way of doing things? When would you think of using this method as opposed to, say, EJS or just doing it with straight HTML? Anyone?
I don't know, when you're adding posts or tweets or whatever sort of, and you want them to show up automatically without an entire page reload, I find this probably would be preferable to the EGS method.
Yep.
Maybe when the user is generating more content.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely valid, right? So speaking of generating content, we should generate content. So in my demo, I had a way of adding posts. So let's add posts to the Minimail blog. Okay, so let's do that. So in order to create posts, I'm going to need a way of sending that information from the browser to my server. What way can you think of for me to do that? How would I get information from my browser to my server?
An HTTP request with the post method?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a form, right? Because this looks like a form. This should not surprise anybody, right? If you saw this on a web page, well, first of all, you would say, boy, that looks ugly. But the second thing you would say is, oh yeah, I know what to do here. I'm going to type something into these fields. I'm going to click on create posts. So let's do that. Let's do that. And rather than generate all of that with jQuery, let's just put it in the HTML itself. So let me do this. I'm going to create a form. And I'm going to call it the create post form because that's original. Okay, and in action. So what do I need to put for action? In this case, I'm not going to put anything for action. We're going to go wild and not have an action. Okay. But we are going to have an ID. So inside here, label, we're going to say the label for the title. And then we are going to put a input and type text, and it's going to be equals title. Okay, and I'm just going to copy all this. And I'm going to put it here. And instead of title, I'm going to put body. And then finally, I need a submit button. So let's just put in a quick BR tag. And then after that, it's what? It's a button colon submit. Yep, there we go. And okay. So I've saved that. Any questions about my form? It's pretty basic, right? I've got 2 inputs. I've got 2 labels. I've missed putting some information in for the label. So hold on. It's supposed to stop me when I make mistakes. Okay, awesome. So let's refresh our page, see our form. We have a form. How amazing is that? I want to put a break between these two. So let me just do that. Okay, so you're looking at this cool little feature over here and you think, wow, that's amazing. How did you do that, John? Okay, it's one of those things where you're going to go, wow, that's amazing. It's also something cool to show off at interviews, right? Because, hey, this is something that you know that not everybody does. And all we need to do is we need to put our form inside a details tag. And then under here, we have to put in a summary. And we'll say create post. Okay, let's go back over here. Ooh, cool, right? So it's one of those cool tags that a lot of people don't know about is the details tag. A couple years ago, I spent half a day creating one of these with JavaScript because I didn't know the details tag existed. So hopefully I've saved at least a couple of you half a day's worth of work in showing you the details tag. Okay. What else have I done? I've put the add post to the right here. Okay. And again, this isn't really a CSS lecture, but let's let's do some CSS anyways, because CSS is cool. All right, so I'm gonna put the form. I'm gonna put the form and the details. I'm gonna put all of this in a header tag. And even though the header is most of the HTML in this case, that's fine. Okay, and then I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to say header. And let's do display flex. Refresh that. Okay, that looks a little weird. So let's fix that by doing an align items. Align items center. Refresh that. There, that's the center. And now we want to move that over to the right. What we can do is we just say justify content space between. There. That's all we needed to do. Although this jumping is a little weird. So let's go to, let's create another rule for details. We're just going to give it a width. And I'm going to give it a width of, say, 250 pixels. So figuring out how wide to make things and such, it just comes over time. You get a feeling for how many pixels it needs to be. So let me refresh. There, create post. Perfect. I feel awesome. What happens when I click on this button?
Nothing right now.
Not quite. Let me do it. The page reloaded. Why did the page reload?
Is that the default for a post request?
It's a default for a form. Any button inside a form will reload the page. Nothing has been posted. If I actually come over to network and, well, yeah, refresh, everything's still a get, right? Nothing has been posted even though I clicked on the button because I don't have an action or a method on my form. I just have an ID for the form. Okay, well, let's fix this then. So let's come into our script. So what we want to do is we want to do something whenever we click on the create post. We want to create an actual post and add it to the list. Okay, so I'm going to put all of this after fetch posts because we have to fetch posts every time we load the page. If we don't fetch posts, what's going to happen when I load the page?
It will be empty.
You are correct. And it will be empty because that data is not being sent until we send that fetch. Okay, so let's do something with the form. So first thing I need to do is get a reference to the form, and I'm going to again use jQuery. And we called it create post form, I believe. Okay, so now I want to give that form an action. It's going to create an event when I click on the button, and that is called a form submission. So let's do this. Form dot on And so I'm telling this form to listen for the submit event. Now, it's kind of interesting that I'm listening for submit on the form, but I'm not adding anything to the button itself. Why do you think that is? I'm doing that on purpose. So the reason is that because of accessibility, I don't need to click on that button. So watch what happens when I add a title and add a body and just hit the enter key. I'm not going to click on create post. It counts as a form submission. So you never actually have to use your mouse in order to click on or to submit a form. And this is accessibility related. So you should be able to tab through all of the controls inside your form or inside your page, just with the tab key, and then be able to add the information. And once you hit enter. So I am putting this on the submit event on the form. I could put it on the click event on the button, but I want to do it this way, again, for accessibility reasons. Okay, so I have a callback, and what's going to happen when I click on that is I'm going to get an event object, and it's going to be passed to me. So what does this event look like? So, well, the good news is our good friend console.log will tell us what things look like. Now there's a problem here. So let's go to the console and let's refresh the page and let's click on the button. I don't see that the console.log statement being output. Can anybody tell me why?
Sorry, did the event actually occur? I was
Yeah,
distracted.
the event actually occurred. We can tell that because the page is reloading. So what's happening is it's console.logging immediately reloading, so you don't see that console.log. So what I need to do is stop the page from reloading when I click on that button. Luckily, there's an easy way to do that, and this is something that all developers know, and that is event.prevent default. Note that this event, this can be called a number of things. I'm calling it event here because that's what it is. Oftentimes you'll just see it as the letter E, but I'm going to call it event because I think calling things by what they are makes sense, especially when teaching. So let's do this. Okay, so now I've got my prevent default in here. Reload the page. And when I click on create post, there we go. There's the event object. All right, so it's got a lot of information in here. I'll leave it up to you in your own time to go and have a look at everything here, but let's get the information that we need. So what we're going to do, and I'm just going to comment out this console.log because we don't need it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, so serialized data. So we have to get the data not const dot, it is const serialized data. And I'm going to say equal to, it's going to be equal to the this, which is the jQuery, or what calling this. And we're just going to call this serialize. This is going to take the data and turn it into a format that we can deal with. This is just boilerplate code that you have to get used to. Okay, so now we are taking that information and we're going to, again, make a Ajax call, right? Because now I have to post from the browser to my server. Now, I could do it this way, but there's another syntax. So I'm going to show you the different syntax, and that is $.post. Okay, and then all I have to do is pass in a string. Posts, and then I'm going to pass in the serialized data. Now, there's already a problem that I foresee, and that is I don't actually have an endpoint on my server to deal with this. But let's get the front end sorted out, and then we'll deal with the back end, okay? So when this is sent through, we're going to get something back, and that data is going to come back in the format of what we call a promise. So we're going to do a dot then. So this post is an asynchronous action. It takes more than like a millionth of a second to occur. We're going to send data to our server. Our server is going to process it and send back an answer. So we need to deal with that when it comes back. And when it comes back, we're going to get a response. And what we're going to do is we are just going to run fetch posts again. I don't even need to know what the response is. I don't even need to pass in the response. So let me get rid of it. There will be a response, but when the response occurs, I'm immediately going to run fetch posts. Okay. Super. Let's go to my server. Now let's save this first of all. This will not work. ASDF and ASDF. Okay. Nope, nothing happened. Here, let's do that again. Create post. There we go, create post. So we posted, we get a response back, and the response is cannot post to API/post. That's right, we don't have an endpoint. So let's go back to our server and set up an endpoint. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is app.post. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is come up with an ID. So there are a lot of good ways to come up with IDs and a lot of bad ways to come up with IDs. So I'm going to do a very quick way. This is great for things that don't really matter. What's going to happen is a timestamp is going to be given of the of when the post is created. So that's perfect. And we're just going to assign that to the ID. We're going to set the title equal to the request that comes in from the server, or sorry, from the client, and we're going to pull off the title. Okay, and then we're going to create the post. So the post is going to be an object, and it's going to be an object because all the rest of our posts are an object. So we want this to look similar to those. So we're just going to pass in the ID, which is going to be the ID, the title, which is going to be the title, and the body, which is going to be the body. This is the same as me doing this. If both sides are the same, you can leave out the right side. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So it's the same as ID is ID, title is title, body is body. And then all I need to do is we're going to push this on to the post, posts. And finally, we're going to return a response, which is going to be a status of 201. Does somebody remember what 201 is?
Success.
Yes, more specifically, it's created. So we've created a post. 200 is the generalized success. 201 is you've created something. Okay, super. So we've got all that. Can it really be that simple?
Hey, John, where is the posts which we are pushing
So the
into?
posts
Okay.
is over here, right? So we're pulling in the posts initially. This happened like an hour and a half ago, so I don't blame you for forgetting. But I pulled in that JSON file. It's been created as an array of objects, and all we're doing is we're putting one more object onto that array. Okay, let's see if this works. So I'm going to put a real title. Okay. What happened? I don't see the post. Wait a minute. I'm getting an array of 13 back now. Okay. So the good news is that the post got added. It got added to the end. The bad news is that I messed it up. I could see that there is an ID here. So let's have a look. So I have an object, it's object 12, it has an ID, it doesn't have a title or a body. So let's see what I did to offend the gods of coding. All right, so we'll worry about the why is the post at the end later. Let's do some troubleshooting to figure this out. So it looks like the post, when we come in, it is creating a post. So let's do the,
Do we need a body parser or something like that for that?
I've done the URL encoded over here, so that should be fine. It's quite possible log. Or you know what? Let's come back here. Let's go to the network tag. Let's go to this post. Where that's a response where, oh, no payload. So I didn't send it initially. So that means that there's a problem on the client side. So let's have a look and see what the problem is on the client side. Okay, so we are posting the fetch data.
Is it because like when you use this with the arrow function, it has a different context?
It should be fine. Serialized data. No, this should work. Let me do this. And what I'm going to do is before the fetch posts, I'm gonna take the response. And we'll console.log it. Oh. I see it. Yep. Okay, let's post something new. All right, real title. I am so excited. Let's refresh this. Real title, I'm so excited. Okay, I've posted. Still no request. The response is still giving me, all right, maybe it wasn't that. So if I'm sending serialized data to the $.post, yep, that's right. API posts serialized data. Let's have a look at this response. Okay, so when I click on here, check the console, click. So it's adding something, but every time it adds, it's adding nothing. So the response is not coming back. Okay, let's look at serialized data. Event.prevent default, yes. Serialized data equals this dot serialize, yes. Here, I'm going to cheat and just copy paste that, which was what I worked on earlier, which we know worked. Okay, so we know it worked. So maybe it's the form it's, I'm an idiot. One more time. No. There has to be some rule that the last thing I do every time, oh no, we've got this object. So that object is being sent back by 47. So the response is that. So we're sending that response. So let's
John, to build on what Gottfried said, when I was doing this, I did have a problem with using the arrow functions with the $sign this on line 42. it was causing a problem for me, and I switched to event.currentTarget and it worked, but maybe this works. I was just doing something.
Oh, yeah. Well, it works, obviously, because, well, it worked for me earlier. So what am I doing wrong? So the serialized data, yeah, you know what? No, the event. Let's have a look at the serialized data then. And the serialized data is equal to that. So that means that my form is not working properly. So let's have a look at the HTML for my form. And we've got an ID, we've got a submit. We've got I'm using names, so that's fine. I'm using submit, so that's fine. Let's have a look at the event. One more time. So nothing is happening. 47. Refresh. Great post. The event is occurring. Let's see if we've got event.target. All right, let's do it that way.
Hey, John, if the request.body you have the title with the T in the lowercase, is that something that, because in the form it was, no?
Let's have a look. Name it, oh my gosh. Jang, give yourself a little star. This is we figured it out. I didn't figure it out, Jang figured it out. So the only thing we need to deal with is how do we get the most current post to the top? Any ideas of what I should do in order to get that moved to the top?
Sort function on the array.
Yep, could do that. That is completely valid. In my example, oh yes, here's what we've, so when I come to my script, this is, and all I need to do is, instead of appending, I'm going to prepend. I think this is the easiest way to deal with it. So this will now appear in reverse order. Let's make sure that I am not lying. Okay, I still have to create a post though. Here, just go, hello. How are you? There we go. Perfect. Beginning of the list. So this is kind of cool. Oh, you also look at the URL. It's sending. It's kind of interesting. Maybe I mucked that up. Did I muck that up? I think I did. Because it's sending it as a query string, which is not exactly what I wanted, but that's okay because it works. There we go. It's just something I tried earlier. Okay, so there we go. An entire working web application. How do people feel about that? Todd is applauding. Silently, admittedly, but you know. So Ajax is used in almost every web application. If it is being pulled from a server in an API format, it's going to be using Ajax. The other option is to have something rendered server-side, which is what we used EJS for in a previous lesson. But here we are rendering everything on the client. I once actually, during a sales pitch to a customer, I said, why spend the CPU cycles yourself to create a web page every time a client wants it? Why don't you just send them the information, have them assemble it? It's kind of the IKEA way of dealing with it, right? We just send the data, send the instructions, which is the HTML and the JavaScript, and the client will put it together. The experience from the client side is almost identical. It's even better because you don't have to have page reloads. Page reloads can slow things down. Also, I want to point out that when I add everything in here, it's clearing out the form. And the way I accomplish that is just by doing a this.reset. Let me get rid of that. This being the form, we're sending a reset to that form, and a reset just blanks everything out, removes all the values from all the fields. Okay. There we go. Ajax on time. It's weird how these things just fill up the 2 hours. It's I'm kind of weird because I don't practice for 2 hours. So it just happens this way. All right, how are people feeling? Feeling good? Feeling like you could do this? Holly, I know you can do this. Holly was looking like she was a little bit nervous. It's fine. It's fine. All of you can do this. This is super easy. jQuery is a great skill to have. I will say that you can accomplish everything I did here without jQuery. So instead of doing the jQuery.ajax, you can use something called Fetch, which is built into browsers. But I wanted to show you jQuery because a lot of existing code that exists in the wild, and when I say the wild, I mean where you're likely going to end up working, will be using jQuery. jQuery is actually used on over 90% of websites, which sounds crazy, I know, but hey. Okay, questions? Awesome. Okay, so I want to wish everybody happy holidays. Enjoy yourselves. Feel free, if you see me online in Slack, to send me a message if a question occurs over the break. I'd be more than happy to answer just because I love doing this stuff. I am going to recommend, not require, but recommend that you do something daily over the break, because I've had breaks in classes before, and the day everybody comes back, it's like they don't know anything about web development at all because they've just spent 2 weeks not thinking about it. So what I'm going to recommend is this site here, Code Wars. Make an account here on Code Wars. Again, this isn't a requirement. This is just a suggestion. Make it and set up for JavaScript. One of these is JavaScript. There we go. And what this does, it gives you a challenge. So it's saying here that this code is not running properly. So what's wrong with this code? Somebody should be able to tell me.
Not
Require.
returning it.
Or, I'm sorry, yeah,
Exactly.
return, yeah.
Exactly. So all you would need to do, put in return, hit submit, and it'll say, yay, you fixed it. So it just, this is something I do instead of doing crosswords, because I do JavaScript for a living. So it's kind of, I get the same thrill of solving a crossword, but I get, in theory, I get paid for it. So all is well. So it's just a recommendation. Otherwise, everyone have a great Christmas holiday. And I will see you all on the 4th of January. You guys are the best. Let nobody
John.
tell you
Thank you.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Thanks,
John.
yeah.
Have a good
No
one.
worries.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
holiday.